Behind the Mirror of Music with Danny Cohen.
And welcome to Behind the Mirror of Music. I'm Danny Cohen. This week's guest is
Glory Crampton. Glory Crampton originated the role of Christine Daaé in Kopit and Yeston's Phantom, one of the most popular adaptations of The Phantom of the Opera. She starred in the production with Richard White as Erik the Phantom. Both of them can be heard in their original roles on the cast album that was recorded during the time. Next to the role of Christine, Glory starred in over 40 productions on and off Broadway, including My Fair Lady with Charles Shaughnessy, Carousel, Camelot, Can, The Secret Garden, Gigi with Gavin MacLeod, Jane Eyre, the highly acclaimed revival of Rothschilds and Sons, and Nanny. During the pandemic, Glory created a very special award-winning production of Nine online, titled Project 9. Next to her acclaimed work as a singer and actor, Glory is also a public inspirational keynote speaker and an inspirational TEDx speaker. On December 10th, this month, Glory will be performing a special Christmas concert at the Belfry Music Theatre in W1.
I hope you will enjoy the show.
Hi, Danny.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good, thank you.
So glad you're joining us.
Ah, me too.
What are you up to in your career right now?
So right now, actually, I've been rehearsing every day. I have a concert. I have two concerts next week of Andrew Lloyd Webber music. So I'm doing a concert that's called Angel of Music, a tribute to Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber. So
Wonderful.
this is a concert that Frank D'Ambrosio, who played the Phantom for many years in San Francisco's Phantom, he and I have done this show for years. We toured it for 3 years in many performing arts centers in the United States and also abroad in South America.
It's fabulous. I saw clips of it on online. It's the concert you do with him. It's always sounds wonderful.
Yes, I mean, who doesn't love singing Andrew Lloyd Webber music? There's so much wonderful music. So every time I get to do this concert, it's so thrilling to revisit Evita and Phantom, of course, and aspects of love and Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, all of the great ones.
Amazing. How did you fall in love with music and acting?
Wow, that's an interesting story. So I used to be an athlete when I was young. I wanted to go to the Olympics as a diver. So I was a swimmer and diver. And so I did not have my radar on acting or singing until I was a little older. One of my friend's sister was doing a community show and she wanted me to join it for fun. And so I did that and I kind of started loving singing. I went to a voice teacher when I was fairly young at 14, but I didn't have the discipline and I told my mom, oh, I don't want to do this. I'm going to stick with athletics. So it wasn't until college that I really started studying seriously and knowing that I wanted to sing and act as a career. I gave up diving when I was a senior in high school. I really pivoted at the last minute from going to college as a diver to going to college to study acting.
When did you make the final connection that this was what you wanted?
I think it was while I was at New York University. I studied singing on the side. I did not think I was going to do musical theater. I just wanted to do film acting. So I was at Strasbourg, the Strasbourg Academy. And I think while I was there, I really started taking a deep dive into the craft of acting, and I started to really fall in love with it. And then while I was in college, I auditioned for a dinner theater production of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. And I was in the chorus of that and got my equity card. And from there, it was, really fell in love with the whole process. The people in show business are so much fun, and the creativity of rehearsing a show, getting to the tech, getting to opening night, and then running a show. I loved it. There's nothing like it.
Absolutely. That's I acted in the past, and I always felt so connected to everyone when you work on the show.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Do you do theater?
And I used to. I had to stop after a few years, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Some mental health issues, unfortunately.
Well, you're a great fan of musical theater for sure.
It always stays with me.
Represent it well.
What was your first professional role?
Well, my first non-equity job before I was in the union was Maria in West Side Story. And I considered that professional because I got paid something like $50 a week. So I was quite happy, and it was my first time, again, while I was in college. I auditioned for this barn playhouse production of West Side Story. And Maria was the first role I did, and then I went on to do that role many times in my career, including singing Maria opposite one of the three tenors at Radio City Music Hall, which was Jose Carreras.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, so that role has a really special place in my heart because it was the movie, seeing Natalie Wood in the movie really made me love theater and that score. And so to have traveled my entire career from the first show all the way through, getting to play that role so many times in some great theaters, I think it's one of the best written musicals ever, really. The score, the story, the script, everything. It's perfection. There's two musicals I think are pure perfection. That and My Fair Lady. West Side Story and My Fair Lady.
Two absolute timeless classics.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
A role you are most known for around the world is the one you actually originated for Christine in Kopit and Yeston's Phantom.
Yes.
What was it like creating this?
Oh, it was incredible working with Maury Yeston and Arthur Kopit. It was a great process in the rehearsal room when we were workshopping it. When I got the role, I really didn't know what I was stepping into. I was away doing a show called The Fantastics, and I flew home to go to the audition, and I was wearing a black mini skirt. I was wearing a black turtleneck and black boots, the least looking Christine you could imagine. And I was the very last girl that they had seen out of everyone in New York because I had been away, and I had no idea about anything about the show or what had been happening in New York around that show. So I stepped off the plane. My agent told me to go, hurry to the audition. I resisted. I didn't want to go because Maury Yeston originally had the idea that My True Love would be a belt song. And at that time, I wasn't a belter yet. And I didn't want to go because I thought I couldn't sing that song. I couldn't sing a belt song. Back then, you were a soprano or you were a belter. I was a soprano. So I went, and Maury decided he would make My True Love a soprano song from the audition, because he played it and I sang it. And that was just a great turning point in my career. It was just so magical, and many stories around our rehearsal and opening that are just fantastic.
This version of Phantom is, I think, next to the Endlord Webber one of the most popular ones. And you're one of the most popular Christines because of this.
Well, that's very nice of you to say. I feel so lucky to have had that happen in my career early on, and it just such a special time in my life, really. And I still talk to Maury Yeston, talked to him recently, and I've worked with him many times in my career too. But Christine, yes, doing the recording at RCA Studios, we did the recording with one of the last cast recordings that was done with the actual orchestra in the room with you. Nowadays, it's usually the singers will come in later. You don't get to do a lot of full orchestra with the singers singing live with them. So that was a very incredible, special experience with Bill Rosenfeld, who produced that.
That's why the old cast recordings always sound so special, because it sounds like you're actually listening to the show, because it's live singing.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
Did you approach Christine from a special point of view?
How did I approach the role? I always approached a role from the truth of the character and how can I find that truth in myself. That's actually what I learned at Strasberg. It's all, you have to come from your own life experience, even if you're young. So I started at the very beginning with, she's at the Paris Opera House, and everything's new to her, and she wants to be an opera singer or a singer. She can't even imagine herself being there. And so, of course, I was new in my career. I was young. I was 24 when I got that role. So, I start from there. I know what that would feel like. And I approach scene by scene with, the backstory of that character, and then relating it to my own life, or how I can relate to her. Yeah, and I love that the Kopit and Yeston Phantom has, the script tells the story in such a deep way. It answers a lot of the questions that people wonder about the Phantom. How he became disfigured, how did he end up in the basement of the opera house, in the catacombs, and it really adds a human aspect to the story that is so just heartwarming and heartbreaking.
It's true, because I like this version a lot, because it actually shows Erik and Christine being together, instead of in most shows you just get more from the backstage, but you always want to see how they are together, how they work together, and it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's what is that relationship? The relationship is it's so much deeper than just an opera ghost that's kind of haunting her, and she doesn't quite know what the pull is that he has on her. it's much deeper than that, because they actually get to know each other, and they actually, he brings her to her highest potential, and she loves him unconditionally, which, with some hiccups in the way, which I know you know the story.
Yes.
Of him revealing his face to her and taking the mask off, and eventually she does learn the lesson of unconditional love, and it's, yeah, quite lovely.
I always love the ones from your music, because it shows them connecting so deeply.
Yes, yes. And that's what the entire relationship is about. Music, it's like they connect. Music is so healing. It's so, there's such an incredible element of music. And Maury wrote the score so beautifully that, especially that song, is really when they start to fall in love. And it's just, yeah, you're making me think of, you're making me remember that time, actually the opening night, and while we were learning all those songs, it was incredible.
We also worked with Kopit and Yeston on another musical, 9.
Yes, 9. Yes, incredible musical. I did 9 twice. I got to play Claudia Nardi the first time at Paper Mill Playhouse, and then a couple of years later, I got to play Luisa Contini, the wife. And then during COVID, I did a short film. I made a short film with the cast. One of the casts that I had worked with, a lot of Broadway performers, singers, dancers, and I filmed everybody, including a full orchestra, in their homes in quarantine separately.
Amazing.
And I made a 15-minute film, and it actually did very well. We won 3 Telly Awards and global awards that were such a surprise to me. I never, I made it purely to just share with people during COVID. And that was another turning point, 9. Yeah, it's called Project 9.
I think that's one of the biggest gifts during COVID, that so many creative things were created because of it.
Absolutely.
Yes. It shows you can always have music and art if you try.
Yes, yes. I actually think our entire industry changed because of COVID, and will forever be changed, because so many people online started singing, and now we do auditioning differently, via Zoom, and it gave people who may not even be in New York in musical theater opportunities to show what they can do and be creative. And I think it opened up a whole new world of creativity.
Absolutely. You mentioned My Fair Lady earlier. You did a very special version with that, with a few years ago, with Charles Shaughnessy, I believe.
Yes. Yes, that was Charles Shaughnessy's first musical after he had left. He does television, and that was his first musical, and we had to put that show together very quickly. And we were at the Pittsburgh Civic Light Opera, and Charles had to learn that role in 10 days, and I had already done the role, so I knew it. But that was really a special time, because it was his first time, and he really learned the ropes of musical theater, and he was just wonderful to work with. One of the sweetest men, and one of the kindest men I've worked with. He's just lovely to play opposite, and we had super amount of fun on that show.
It's always so amazing to hear people have to learn the role so fast, because the more people I interview, the more I hear that it happens a lot. That you suddenly have to.
Yeah, I think that's part of the business that's very it's hard because people think that if you're an actress and a singer, you audition for a show, you get it, and then that's it. But there's so many steps in musical theater, and one of them is the auditioning process, which is totally different than performing on stage. It's a whole different mindset. It's a whole different mindset around nerves and how to handle that and how to relate to the people in a small room. And then the other challenge of musical theater is learning, especially when you're younger and you're just getting your first roles, you have to learn your show pretty quickly in some regional theaters.
I recently saw actors who had to learn an entire Sondheim role in 3 days. It's really a big thing.
It's crazy. I don't know if I could do that now. I don't know that I really would want to do that now. I did a show a couple months ago, which is a Noel Coward show, and I was reunited with Robert Johansson, who directed me in 14 shows at the Paper Mill Playhouse. And we did Noel Coward is known for his very witty, fast lyrics. It was a British musical comedy based on all of his like crazy British characters. And it was one of the hardest things I've now in my career, where I'm way, deeply into my career many years later. It was very difficult to learn. And we had a month, and we still were forgetting lyrics on stage when we opened. It was I keep saying to Robert, hardest show I ever did was a couple months ago.
A show we haven't had yet in Europe, but what I would love to hear about is Rothschild and Son.
Oh, Sheldon Harnick. Again, another incredible composer. Unfortunately, we just lost him, but he lived to be 98. He was 98. And yes, he wrote Fiddler on the Roof. And Rothschilds and Sons was kind of like a very heartfelt musical that he had written years ago in the 70s. And he revamped the show, rewrote it, so really was a world premiere based on the Rothschild family. And he whittled it down so there was one woman, Gudula Rothschild, and Meyer Rothschild, and their 5 sons. And I think 2 people that play all the other characters in the show, or 3 people. And it was a very challenging role and very deeply profound. It's based on the wealthiest family in the world, the Rothschilds, and it's Bob Cuccioli and I got cast, and neither one of us are Jewish. And we talked to the director and Sheldon, and they said, you are the best to play these roles. And so that was really an honor. And we had to learn dialect, and I studied the culture, I studied that time period, and it was really amazing. We had to travel from age 20 to 75.
That's such a wonderful production. Again, I saw things of it online, and I really hope it comes to Europe one day, because it really is a show that should get more attention, because it's still such an important history.
It's such an important part of history, and I know they're still working on it, and they have plans always to try to get it redone. We actually when we were in London, we did get an offer to go into a theater on the West End to run, but that theater was being sold to someone else, and the turnaround didn't allow us to stay there. So I think, I hope that it has another run.
Me too.
Yeah. God bless Sheldon Harnick.
Absolutely.
Such an incredible man. Yeah.
Next to the roles we discussed, what were some of your absolute favorites?
I would have to say my favorite role is Eliza Doolittle in My Fair Lady. It's just an incredible journey again. You know, I love roles that really challenge me to grow in the arc of the character. They start at one place, like Eliza starts as a complete homeless gutter snipe. You know, she can barely pay money to, you know, sleep at night. She sells flowers for a living. She's dirty. She never takes a bath. I love playing characters that challenge me to get out of my comfort zone. And then her journey of growth to eventually becoming a princess or being passed off as a princess is just incredible, incredibly written. So I just loved playing her.
What are some of your best memories?
I think a lot of times doing shows, what actors remember more than the everyday performing of the show are the things that happen that are funny. The funny stories of something that goes awry on the stage, or, you know, forgetting your lines or forgetting an entrance or something with a costume that happened. So a lot of those stories are just forever, forever will be in my mind. And my fellow actors and I talk about that all the time. And I think the other amazing memories are really working with the composers who have written the shows and having their trust to create their roles is just like something that's I don't even have a word for it. It's just an incredible experience to have that. I never take that for granted.
You also wrote a book a few years ago, Discover Your Star Power. Could you tell what it was about?
The book that book has not been published yet. I've written a book, but I have not published it yet because COVID happened and all these, you know, a lot of things kind of, you know, have derailed that. But what that came out of was I was asked to do a TEDx talk on releasing stage fright. So many people have anxiety and stage fright around public speaking. It's a huge issue in our world. It's one of the top fears among people is speaking in public. So I did this TEDx talk, and from the TEDx talk is what that book was developed around. It's tips to help people step into what I call your star power. I went from being a very shy girl. I had terrible stage fright when I was doing my high school plays, and I was a very shy girl. And early in my career, I had to learn so quickly how to overcome my anxiety and nerves. And I had them. All actors have anxiety and nerves. No matter what level you are in your career, you have that. It's opening night, the New York Times in the audience, whatever it is, you always kind of have to deal with that. So that book deals with all the steps that I learned to take to step into what I call star power. How I got leading roles, how I was able to, you know, stand center stage and shine. That's and I love helping other people do that. I teach business professionals a lot of times how to overcome their fear of public speaking. So that's another passion of mine.
I have always had that because, well, anxiety. And that it's when I started this show a few years ago, it really went well. But then, because of mental health reasons, I had to stop a few years ago after the former channel died because of COVID. And then when I started this show in the first episode, an actor I spoke to, I got this massive panic attack. Really kind man who actually had to coach me through the episode.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you know what? You're not alone, and it's normal. It's actually normal. I think people don't talk about it enough, and it's something that's totally, you know, fixable. Like it's totally something that, yeah, with coaching and I feel that everybody can learn how to manage that. And yeah, and I'm very glad that you did. And here you are, and you have so much to offer. I'm so happy to be on your show today.
Thank you. Is there anything you would love to discuss about your career, or anything else that you would love to include into this interview?
Let's see. Well, I have one of the things that I'm very excited about that I am working on is I have a concert with 3 tenors and a full orchestra symphony concert with 3 tenors that I produced and directed, and I'm working on getting toured in symphonies
Wow.
around the country. So that's another one of my passions that I'm very excited about right now. And also, if there's any business leaders that need some help with anxiety around public speaking, you can find me through my website, and I do courses on that to help people public speak in, TEDx talks or in their businesses, lawyers, that sort of thing. So
I think that's the interview. Thank you so much.
Danny, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to see you and meet you. And I love your passion for musical theater, and keep up your great work.
Thank you so much. It was so amazing speaking to you, because I've listened to you for so many years.
Well, I'm sure I'll see you out there in the social media world, and also I look forward to continuing watching your success.
Thank you so much.
Behind the Mirror of Music with Daaé Cohen.